हेलो दोस्तों। नमस्कार, जय श्री राम। तो आज हम बात करेंगे वर्जन कंट्रोल सिस्टम की। Specifically we will learn about the version control system during this course. I will make several videos on Git version control system, how to use Git, basic usage of Git, and how does Git work. We will cover a lot of things, but since today it is the uh, uh, first part or first episode of this series, so let's talk about the version control system. तो दोस्तों, वर्जन कंट्रोल सिस्टम क्या होता है एक्चुअली? आपकी कोई भी फाइल है या आपका कोई भी सॉफ्टवेयर है या आपका आपके पास कोई भी चीज़ है, उसका एक वर्जन होता है, उसका एक टाइप, उसका एक स्वरूप होता है. But when we talk specifically in terms of software, then we can say we have a file, or we have folder, or uh, we have something, a collection of files and folders that has one particular version. Just to make you, let's say, if I make a file here, let's say just for an example, if I make a file here, abc.txt, और अगर मैं ये कहूँ दिस, मैं कहूँ हेलो गाइस, नमस्कार, और मैं इसे सेव कर देता हूँ, कंट्रोल एस, सेव किया मैंने. सो दिस फाइल, आई हैव फाइल abc.txt. दिस हैज ए वर्जन. जो वर्जन कंट्रोल सिस्टम होता है वो एक्चुअली व्हेन यू सेव दिस फाइल, or when you save your files to that version control system, Git or SVN or whatever a version control system is you are using, then that version control system will save this as your one version. How does it is? How the particular software does it? It depends on that particular software's implementation. In this case, we can say this is our version one. So let me say, let me, if I say underscore v1. Now let's say if I make some changes to this, Jai Ram. Yeah, then this is a new version. That means we have changed this file. We have changed the thing we are going to track in our version control system. We have changed. That means a new one. If I can save it. So let me see. No, sorry. I did this, and we don't need this. If I make a copy, control C, control V, make a new version 2, उसमें मैंने लिख दिया नमस्ते फॉर एग्जाम्पल. जब मैंने ये से सेव किया, अब मेरे पास इस ABC जो फाइल थी एक्चुअली उसका दूसरा वर्जन आ गया. तो जो जो हमारा वर्जन कंट्रोल सिस्टम है वो इसको ट्रैक करता है फाइल्स को. It tracks these files in such a way that later on you can go and pick a particular version and see what was my version 1, what was my version 2, what was my version 3, and so on. This is fundamental behavior of a version control system. So in a nutshell, a version control system keeps track of different versions of a software, or a piece of files or files actually. The same thing is what Git does. Git is a version control system which keeps track of files or set of files over time. दिस इज द फंडामेंटल और हमने वर्जन भी समझ लिया यही एक्चुअली यही फंडामेंटल है आपका एक ए बी सी डॉट टी एक्स टी जो फाइल थी हमारी वर्जन वन में हमारा ये था हमने ये टेक्स्ट लिखा हुआ था वर्जन टू में हमने ये टेक्स्ट ऐड कर दिया ये देखो ये लाइन ऐड करी लेट्स से अगर हम एक और नया वर्जन बनाएं तो मैं कह सकता हूँ कि जो वर्जन तीन है दिस इज नंबर वर्जन थ्री दिस मैं यहाँ पे कह देता हूँ नहीं भाई मैं तो इसको हटाऊंगा और मैं तो यहाँ पे लिख दूंगा बल्ले बल्ले इसका मतलब ये है अब मैंने सेव कर दिया इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि हमारे पास तीन वर्जन है एबीसी फाइल के वर्जन वन वर्जन टू वर्जन थ्री हमने किया क्या है ये आया ये वाला हम देख सकते हैं वर्जन एक सेकेंड लाइक दिस so in our first version this is how our file looked like hello guys comma namaskar this is how our version 2 looked like and this is how our version 3 looked like so here are our three versions of the same file so if I want to use version 1 version 2 or version 3 I can easily switch back and see these versions this is what a version control system does that means you make changes you make first you tell your you make changes to your files you take a snapshot or and then you save it we will talk about this uh, and here is the picture I just found why use version control so if you see the definition a version control system tracks changes to a file or set of files over time the most common type is a centralized version control system which uses a server to store all the versions of a file. Developers can check out a file from the server, make changes, and check the file back in. Check in, that means when check in is kind of saving, committing your new version, new content of your file to the system. And basically there are several. Most popular are centralized and distributed. Git, which we are going to learn, is a distributed version control system. Contra centralized version control system, which we have SVN, which is a centralized version control system. And the benefits, we can imagine benefits are that of using a version control system that we can go back to a previous version. If we mess with our files, we can actually download the files. We can download a particular version of a file or the software from the version control system and we can use that. So these are the benefits. Uh, when we let me see, do I have here? Yeah. So the Git is a distributed version control system and SVN is a centralized version control system. So if we look at this image, this is for SVN. We will see we have SVN repo. दोस्तों actually repo is just a collection of files and folders. This is the actually the place where you store. This is called repository. A repo is the shortcut for repository. So in SVN you have your repo at centralized location and then you have several developers who can download this repo, make changes and commit back to the centralized repo. The Git in Git you have the centralized repo or the remote repo or the server repo And then you have developers, but each developer actually has local Git repository at his or her place. Developer Git repo, developer Git repo, developer Git repo. So the developer first make changes to its software, its files, and then he commits those changes or saves those changes to the local Git repository. And then when he is satisfied, then he can push those changes to the remote repository. So everyone who is working here, every developer works with his local repository, and then he can push those changes to the remote repository and can download the changes from the remote repository. This is the quality, or this is the function of a distributed repository, distributed version control system, which is Git. This is how Git works. This is the Git workflow. Let me see if I have something else here to say for the, and also because it is the first kind of episode of the series, so here I will just make some introduction. So now I will assume that we know what are the versions, what is a version control system, and why do we use a version control system. And then we should be able to know what is a centralized version control system and what is a distributed version control system. And since we will be focusing on Git, learning Gits, and Git is a distributed version control system, uh, so that's the most important thing. Let me see. Yeah, here also you can see in this image we have the remote repository, local repository. They are fetching, pulling, they are pulling down the changes, and they can push, pull, push. That's what it's doing. And that's the understanding by start new work repository, remote repository, which is on the remote, and the local repositories. Let me see what else I wanted to. Git versus SVN. You can go through all more information about what is the difference between Git and SVN. Git has a distributed model, SVN has a centralized model. Git is more difficult to learn, it has more concepts and commands. Yeah, that's true, little bit. But when once you learn it, it's should be you should be okay. And we should be learning. Actually, मैंने भी अभी use किया है. It's not been when I started to use actually. I started to use Git around 6, 7 months or 5, 6 months ago. So I hope we will learn together. I will be able to share some knowledge, and I will be able to kind of explain some concepts of Git to you, and maybe you will help me learning. So it's a two-way process. Should be fun. Let's see. Feature of Git, distributed branching, compatibility, no linear development, lightweight, open source, directories as version. So yeah, so they different version control systems have different implementation of their software. Copying, deleting, renaming, and so on. Here, actually, this is the git-scm.com. This is where you can find all the resources, all the links to the tutorials, and also you have books. I think you can download a free book here. Local computer checkout, version database, and so many things. Let me see, centralized version control systems. So in centralized, you have computer A, computer B file. You're checking out, and here you have your version. You don't have any version on your computer. And in distributed, you have server computer. This is your remote. Then you have version 1, version 2, version 3. But on your computer, you have the same repository also on local repository. So you have version 1, version 2, version 3. at your desktop also, at your place locally. Yeah, that's it. I think for the part one of this long gate series. This was the introduction series or introduction video or tutorial. I think I don't have anything more to say. I hope you will be making comments on this video so that we can learn together. I can make some, and make more how can I add more values to my further videos or tutorials. Please do make comments, and thank you very much. जय श्री राम. अब साथ न गुजरेंगे हम, लेकिन ये फिजा वादी की दोहराती रहेगी हरदम, भूले हुए अफसाने को. जीवन के सफर में राही मिलते हैं बिछड़ जाने को, और दे जाते हैं यादें तन्हाई में तड़पाने को.